how cognitive growth occurs. Here, according to Piaget, it occurs through the process of assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. Take a look at these terms, big words, right? Big words. So assimilation is the process of fitting or internalizing one's environmental experience into one's present stage of cognitive development. You just take it in and put it here. For example, assimilate in a pure form means to take in experiences and ideas from the outside world without changing what they mean. Okay, taking in all that in a pure form. Now, let me give you an example. Okay, let's say what the first time a child sees an orange and call it a ball. Okay, present cognitive structure. All around the objects are balls. So calling the orange what instead of what is orange, but it is a ball. Right? So that's easy to understand. Okay, easy to understand. So let's take a look at what? Take a look at the streams of learning. So look at A. Banging is a favorite shim used by babies to explore the world. Is that right? We do that all the time. Okay. I remember I did that too. I'm kidding. I can't remember anything. This old professor is fast becoming an extreme forgetful professor. Anyway, and then assimilation occurs when they incorporate new objects into the gym. Say instead of a dumbbell, now what? Now that what? It is what? Now it is a what? It is a block. Okay, and what? Accommodation occurs when the new object doesn't fit the existing gym. Okay, so assimilation is to take whatever environment, then what put them in the present stage of cognitive structure. Right? So you bang a bell, bang a dumbbell, then banging a block, banging lots of stuff. Hopefully, it's not a glass. And then do that to an egg. What is happening? All right. So here, accommodation occurs. But what is accommodation? Let's take a look. What is accommodation? All right. So, accommodation, it is a response to assimilation. It is the adjustment the individual makes when incorporating new experience. For example, changing one's present state of cognitive processing in order to make sense of a new event. Okay. Now, remember from example, the child thought that the lemon is the ball. But when the child squeezes the lemon, juice came shooting into his eyes. Then the child said to himself, what the hell is it? It's not a ball. Okay. So there is what we call a knowledge disturbance. A knowledge disturbance occurs. And the child learns that, and what? Through accommodation, learn that not all round objects are balls. This is a round object, but then you squeeze it, it has juice coming out, and it's sour. You lick the juice, and you know the grimace on the face. All right, so knowledge disturbance occurs, and what? And what the child learns that not all round objects are balls. The epigenetic principle, okay, stipulates that due to an intrinsic motivation to learn, that is the built-in drive to acquire more what complex systems of thinking. Right? So that's what the epigenetic principles that we want to what to get what to learn something more advanced than our present what cognitive stage. Okay. All right. So take a look at an example of assimilation and accommodation in cognitive development. The child sees what porpoises swimming in a large tank of water. It's that is what a mammal, or sometimes call it a fish. It looks like a tortoise, okay, or a big turtle, all right. And then what assimilation takes place. That they are interpreted within the general concept fish because it is swimming, right? Because it is swimming. Now, then the child sees porpoises breathing, much like the whale, they're breathing. And then part one. Now, so then accommodation occurs because then the child obtained the new concept is that animals that live in water but breathe air out of the water, and like people, right? So then Then accommodation, according to Piaget, accommodation has occurred. All right. So this is assimilation accommodation. All right. Now, equilibration. What is equilibration? Like bring it to an equilibrium. Is that right? The general idea. So equilibration, according to Piaget, is the process due to our epigenetic principle, due to our intrinsic motivation to learn. Okay? So it's the process of arriving at an adjustment through assimilation and accommodation between one already knows and what one is asked to learn that doesn't quite fit one's cognitive frame of mind. So a built-in drive to acquire more complex systems of thinking. This is the result of what we call epigenetic principles. That is what built into our DNA. Okay? We do that. Okay? Our inclination to acquire to try to we have the drive to acquire more complex systems of thinking. All right. Like modal stage plus one. Like remember all those stages, they overlap, but then we human, we have an intention to go higher. Okay. That is to say, we are genetically drawn to operate at a higher stage. Okay. I mean, higher stage of cognitive operation. All right. Now, take a look at the example. The child squeezes the lemon, and lemon juice comes shooting into his eyes. Okay. What is it? It's not a ball. So knowledge disturbance occurs. All right. Then the child reasons that I have seen sweet juice coming out of a peach, let's say. But the peach juice is different from this juice. This juice is awful. It must be another kind of fruit. Yucky. But then another kind of fruit. So here, the cognition that it is a ball has changed. It has been challenged. Okay, it has changed. The child is operating at a different level now. At a different level now regarding regarding the experience of seeing another lemon. Okay, so equilibration takes place when there is a threshold, when there is a threshold of new awareness or curiosity. So there is some sense of uneasiness and awareness that can be expressed as somehow my thinking doesn't quite handle the new information. So generally, I'll need to change my mind. Okay, that type of thing. Knowledge disturbance. A lot of time, it is frustrating, but a lot of time it changes us. Okay, changes our mental operation. So equilibration, it is a slow process. Intellectual growth is the gradual development of more complex and more efficient rational problem-solving capacities that one can generalize to new problems. So assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration, right? So that's what Piaget's theory of how we learn. Okay, let's take a look at this overhead here. All right. Now, but then before we do that, here, some psychological changes in the brain do take place that coincide with Piaget's stages. Head size increases to accommodate what? To accommodate. Okay, to accommodate what? Fattened neurons. Fatten, the neurons becomes what? Becomes fatter. Okay. The neuron becomes what? Fattened. All right. And then what? So head size increases to accommodate bigger neurons. Okay? And brainwave patterns change using what? EEG. Right? So the child, let's see here, the child comes into the world, okay, genetically equipped to make certain motor movement, like sucking, grasping, moving, and even crawling, walking. These are all what genetically determined. Okay, these motor activities form the foundation on which later cognitive structures will be built. That's the biological given, inescapably direct cognitive growth. Is that right? Simply the interaction of the senses with the environment. Okay, remember what those sensory deprivation studies you must have read in your first year psychology. Stages of development can be retarded under conditions of low environmental stimulation. Right? So in psychology, we have a lot of those what is it called, that sensory deprivation experiment. Right? So environmental stimulation is needed at the right time for the bud of each stage to come to full flower on schedule. However, we cannot assume all adults function at the formal operational level in all domains. Domains, I mean what? In basketball, in drawing, in math, in music, that type of thing. If we have not been exposed to a careful balance of experience and guided reflections in all areas of human activity, and it is highly likely that our own development may be incomplete. So we may still operate at an intuitive or concrete level in certain areas. So, example, one may be at the level of formal thought in logic, yet pre-operational in understanding human relationship. Well, there are such people, is that right? You have to admit that there are such people. Okay. All right. So let us take a look at at the whole thing here. I have found this here, and I summarize this for you. And you see that here, sensory motor 0 to 2. Remember that, okay? Pre-operational 2 to 7, 7, 11, and 12 onward, okay? So 12 onward, some start at 11, some start at 12, 14, or 15 onward. All right. So here, sensory motor, we have a motoric intelligence. The world of here and now is like the reality. Okay, we are here and right now. Okay? Every experience is like new. Okay? No language, no thought. Well, probably some thought, but then we don't know. Okay, no thought in early stages. No notion of objective reality. Right? No notion of objective reality. All right. 2 to 7, egocentric thought. Egocentric thought. And reason determined by perceptions, the interaction of the senses with the environment. Okay, perception. Okay, perception. You have here, perception. Okay, in general, we call that perception, right? Not necessarily just vision. Intuitive rather than logical solution. For the fantasies, for the illogical thinking, inability to conserve. So the experiment Piaget did a lot of experiments with those conservation, seriation, that type of thing, all right? Then comes concrete operations, 7-Eleven, right? The ability to conservation of matters, conservation of shape, that kind of thing. Logic of classes and relation. They know how to classify. They know how to count. They know how to deal with numbers. Remember that, okay? So understanding of numbers, thinking bound to concrete realities, concrete materials. Okay? Development of reversibility in thought. That's good. They can deal with that here. Do you have a sister? Yes. Does your sister have a sister? Yes. That type of thing. All right. Questions to a girl. All right. Formal operations, complete generality of thought. Right. That is powerful. That right. Okay. Prepositional thinking. That is to say, be able to to think in terms of hypothesis, in terms of probability, that kind of thing. Ability to deal with deal with hypothetical situation, deal with hypothesis, development of strong idealism. Okay, idealism. That is to say, they were from thought of you will read later on, thought of what kind of person they will become, that kind of thing. Okay, we'll touch upon this in Erik Erikson. Okay, in Erik Erikson's, and all right. So let's take a look here. Intelligence in action. Okay, and then what? Environmental demands and the need to adapt and to learn because of environment demands us to do that. That will lead to functioning assimilation accommodation. Right? So that brings about changes in the cognitive structure, and then changes in cognitive structure also affects the process of assimilation accommodation. All right. Then what? Then behavior. Okay. all of which is apparent in an inferred from cognitive structure. So our cognitive structure determines our behavior, and then our behavior will, what in return, affect what our cognitive structure, right? So you see all these arrows here, there are what two-way street, is that right? Two-way street. So that's what our we start off with what a lot of predetermined abilities determined by our DNAs, all right? That what through action we perform actions. Then we begin to interact with the environment through our five senses. From that point onward, we grow. The environment's impinging on us, and then we act in response. And in doing that here, we gain what? We gain intelligence, right? We gain intelligence. So let's take a look at what? Take a look at this here. All right. So factors that influence what? Cognitive growth. Okay. So the most important implication of Piaget's stage theory for teaching is Hunt's notion of the problem of the match. Problem of the match, that is to say, to avoid the problem either overmatching or undermatching. So that's the level of the existing cognitive stage. And if you want, say, educational materials at this stage here, same level, this is good. This is good. The child feels comfortable. And remember, knowledge disturbance. So present the child with a level a little bit higher than the child's current level. Then you create a knowledge disturbance. Then the child will have to do assimilation, accommodation, equilibration. Okay, to go up here. So, and then a little mismatch, then the child will find it not too difficult to catch up. A little mismatch. So that is called what Hunt's notion of matching and mismatching. All right. So two principles according to Hunt. Okay. To start or to match where the learner is, right? To start or to learn where the learner is. That is what? Remember what William James first one mentioned this. So that is to say, to start to match or start teaching in concert with the student's level of development. Okay. Now, remember what is the term called what? Adaptive learning. In testing, we have the tailored testing. That is to say, the difficulty of the test items, they are what? They match the what? Match the level of cognitive development of the child. Okay, that type of thing, right? That type of thing. Anyway, gradual mismatching. So gradual shift to a slightly more complex level of teaching in order to help the student development. So because of knowledge disturbance. Okay. So the epigenetic principle, remember what we are endowed with the building drive to acquire more complex system of thinking. Because of that, and then also there's another thing called modal stage plus one. Is that right? You have what? You have modal stage plus one phenomenon. That is to say, that is what characteristic of what human beings' intrinsic drive to learn. So here, what is it here is that what? The slightly higher level of complexity creates a kind of knowledge disturbance. Remember that? Okay? Or we call it dissonance. Okay, dissonance. So it is what frustrating. Okay, dissonance is frustrating. So we need to what to overcome this. So in resolving the dissonance, the students end up with a more complex level of thinking. They experience that is what, and they experience what developmental growth. Okay, they experience developmental growth or development growth. Okay, all right. Now, how to stimulate what cognitive growth in school? Anyway, let us here. The ability here, matching strategies to ability. Is that right? Match it, an opportunity to apply and test principles learned in one situation to a new situation. Well, this is called what? Transfer, right? And the need to interact with teacher and peers to test one's thinking, to be challenged, to receive feedback, watch how others work out problems, right? So the so here altogether here the ability to apply and test the principle learned in one situation to a new situation, and then what? And then the need to interact with teachers and peers in order to test what they are thinking. All right, to be what? To be challenged, to receive feedback, and watch how others work out problems. So it is important. It is important to what? Important to act, manipulate, observe, communicate their learning experience. Now, what about what? Speeding up. Can we speed up cognitive development? Okay. There are pros and cons according to Piagetian arguments. Okay. Against what accelerates, right? Cognitive development is based on self-directed actions, right? You will have to assimilate content. So self-directed actions and the thought of the student or the intellectual level of student, not on the teacher's actions. Of course, the teacher can spur them on, okay? But then what? The learner has to take initiative. So acceleration is inefficient. Therefore, why waste time in teaching the students when they're not ready? Okay, why waste time if they're not ready? Okay, so they will learn by themselves much more rapidly and thoroughly at another stage. So we need to match where the learner is. Then Then gradual mismatching. There is speeding up cognitive development. If we want to do this, it's not possible. Okay, so gradual change in our cognitive capacity. So Piaget and his followers argued that speeding up cognitive development is not good. All right, it is not good. So finally, let's take a look at the Russian psychologist, Vygotsky. Okay, Vygotsky. All right. So Vygotsky has suggested that cognitive development depends much more on other people. That is to say, through the interaction of the child with adults, perhaps a more capable peers, okay, who could provide guidance, who could provide them teaching information and support. Support is important for the child to grow actually, right? So the key word here is what support or scaffolding, right? Or scaffolding. Take a look at what Vygotsky's what zone of proximal development. That's the area where the child cannot solve a problem alone, but can be successful under what adult guidance, under adult guidance, or in collaboration with a more advanced peer. So this is called the concept of scaffolding. You provide support. Okay, you provide support. Okay, this is what called the zone of proximal development. So this is the area where real learning is possible and instruction is more effective. Okay, so in this case here, it's much like apprenticeship. You learn from the master. You learn from the master. So it is important therefore to have someone, an adult or a more advanced peer to guide you, to guide the child. So this is called the zone of proximal development. So therefore, according to Vygotsky, there is a social aspect to learning. All right. So it is true that Piaget did not mention this. So this is the Russian psychologist. Okay, and this is this is a very good point. Is that right? There's a very good point here. Okay, good. So that's it for Piaget cognitive development. Okay? Thank you.